Hi all, welcome back to ECNS where nursing education made easy. So last class we have discussed about the units, first 3 units of psychology. So we will discuss continuous or balanced portion of the psychology unit number. We will start with unit number 5. So let's see. You will start with the unit number 4. So unit number 4 is learning, thinking and reasoning, observation and perception. So let's discuss what are the important chapters or what are the important topics that coming under unit number 4. So the first one is learning. So very important. So it may come for the long essay as well as short answers. So it is a learning. What is learning? What is the definition of learning? So learning is the modification of behavior through experiences. So according to Gates, what is learning? It's a modification of a person's behavior through learning or experience. So from the experiences, he will try to modify his behavior. That is what called learning. Learning is the process of developing new methods or techniques to deal with one's problem. So that's the definition by Bose. So it is learning is the process of developing new methods or techniques to deal with one's problem. So this is the definition of learning. So definition is very important. Maybe a one marker or also a short essay, you will get this questions. So what is the nature of learning? So learning is growth. So if we are learning daily, if we are learning something, it will be a growth for us. So for us, it is our knowledge is growing. So ourselves, we are growing. Learning is creating. So it should be creative. So we can do after learn something, we can create a thing. So that is what called learning is creative. Learning is powerful. So learning is also very powerful. From learning, so we have the degree, we are learning now a degree or a diploma course, we are learning. So that is what called it is a powerful. And learning is an experience. Learning is modification of behavior. So from these experiences, what we can do, we can modify the behavior. So these are the nature of learning. So the coming to laws of learning. So what are the laws of learning? First one, law of effect. What is it? This law states behaviors followed by positive outcome are more likely to repeat it, while those with negative outcomes are less likely to reoccur. So it emphasizes the role of reinforcement and consequences in learning. So law of effect. So if the student is studying something new, if we are giving a positive reinforcement, he or she will adapt that behavior. If we are giving a negative reinforcement, then they will not repeat that again. So that is what called law of effect. So effect through the reinforcement. So there it will be positive, negative. If they are getting a positive reinforcement, they will modify their behavior based on that. If they are getting the negative reinforcement, then what will happen? They won't repeat that behavior. So this is law of effect. Coming to the next second law, that is law of purpose. So what it is? Learning is more effective when the learner has clear goal or purpose. So if I have a clear goal, so I need to pass the exam. So that is my goal. So if I have a clear goal, I will learn for that. So learning is more effective when the learner has a purpose or a definite goal. So strong sense of purpose increases focus and interest in tasks. So this is learning by this is the law of purpose. Now, law of motivation. So, third law is law of motivation. So, what it does? Motivation drives the learner to take action and persist in learning. Higher motivation leads to greater effort and better learning outcomes. So, if you are motivated, so you need to achieve a goal. You are motivated. So, it will impact positively on your learning capacity. So, that is what called law of motivation. Motivation drives the learner to take action and persist in learning. So if I have motivation, then I will take the action and I will study more. So that is what called law of motivation. Next one, law of selection. So what it is? The learner tends to select information or experiences that are meaningful or relevant. So from so many knowledge, what he or she will take the relevant information or the relevant knowledge. So that is the selection. So this selective attention helps in retaining and applying knowledge better. So that is law of selection. Next is law of readiness. Learning occurs best when the learner is mentally and physically prepared. So readiness. So if I am not mentally and I am not physically prepared, then I can't study. So if learner need to study or learn something, he or she should be mentally and physically prepared. If the learner is not ready, attempt to force learning may result in frustration or resistance. So if you are forcing a student to study, so what will happen? If they are not ready, they will get frustrated. So this is laws of learning. Now coming back to theories of learning. So next important topic that we are going to discuss is theories of learning. So what are the theories of learning? Learning by trial and error. The first theory is learning by trial and error. So this theory proposed by Edward Thorndike suggests that learning happens through repeated attempts. So how the learning will be? Through repeated attempts. When a correct response is found, it gets strengthened and wrong responses gradually eliminated. So if they are getting a correct response, it will be strengthened. If they are getting a negative or wrong response, then it will be gradually eliminated. So that is learning by trial and error method. So trial, first we will try, we will get errors. So everything what we are studying, sometimes mistakes will be there. So from the mistake, we will change and we will learn more. So that is the theory of learning by trial and error. Now next theory, learning by conditioning. So the theory includes classical conditioning by Pavlov and operant conditioning by Skinner. In conditioning, learning occurs through association, either by linking two stimuli or through rewards and punishment. So either two stimuli will be linking or rewards and punishment. If punishment for a negative learner, so a learner that is making mistakes, so punishment, and for reinforcement also, or reward for a positive behavior. Next is learning by observation. So also called observational social learning, theory by Albert Bandura explains that people learn from watching others. So people learning from watching others. Through observation, they are learning a new thing. Behaviors is seen in role models or peer are imitated, especially when the model is rewarded. So if your friend is getting rewarded to get the first rank in the class, so next person will observe her and try to get that. So that is what called learning by observation. Next, we will discuss about another important topic that's coming in this chapter is memory. So what is memory? Memory consisting of learning, retaining and remembering what previously learned. So according to Wordsworth. So memory means what? A person's memory capacity means what? What he studied, learned, retaining and remembering about a particular incident. So what he studied and what he retained and what he can remember. So that is what called memory. So memory is the ability of organisms to store the information from earlier learning process and reproduce that information in answers specific to stimuli. So when they studied something previously, so they restored it, and when the time comes after 1 week or after 2 weeks, some instance came, if they can reproduce that memory, then it is known as memory. So that is what called defined by Eysenck. So this is the definitions of memory. So memory consists of learning, retaining and remembering what has previously learned by Wordsworth. Memory is the ability of organisms to store the information from the earlier learning processes and to reproduce that information in answer to specific stimuli. Now coming to process of memory. So what are the process of memory? Encoding, storage and retrieval. First we will encode, we will learn something, we will store it in and we will retrieval. So we will recollect that memory. So that is the process, encoding, storage and retrieval. Next, we will discuss about types of memory, sensory memory or immediate memory. So from the moment itself. So if you had a stimulus, you have that immediate memory. Short-term memory or working memory. So last day, what happened? Last week, what happened? That is what called you are remembering. That is short-term memory. Long-term memory, from the past itself, you are remembering things. That is long-term memory. So this is the types of memory. So we'll see. First one, sensory memory, or it's also known as immediate memory. This is the first stage of memory where information from the senses like sight and sound from the senses is stored very brief moment, usually just few seconds. So the senses, from the senses, the information will be stored within seconds. It helps us to take in our surrounding instantly before passing important details to short-term memory. So next one is short-term memory, also known as working memory. So this memory holds information for a shorter period of time, that is 15 to 30 seconds. So the information will be 15 to 30 seconds. It is where we temporarily store and process information we are actively thinking about, like remembering a phone number before dialing it. So that is what called short-term memory. So before dialing the number, we are trying to remember that. Next is long-term memory. This memory stores information for long duration, days, months or even years. So it includes everything we have learned, such as facts, experience, skill and personal memory. So this is the types of memory. Now we will discuss about next important topic that is coming under this chapter is forgetting. So what is forgetting? It's defined by a temporary, it's a definition. Let's see the definition. So temporary or permanent loss of ability to recall or remember something learned earlier. So according to Mann in 1967. So ability, that person is not having the ability to recall what he have learned or to recognize something. So that is what called forgetting. Temporary or permanent loss of ability to recall. Either it will be temporary or either it will be permanent. So temporary or permanent loss of ability to recall or organize something learned earlier. Next is forgetting. It's the inability to recall or recognize information which was previously learned and stored in a memory. S.K. Maheshwari. So according to S.K. Maheshwari, what it is forgetting is the inability of that person to recall or recognize information which he was previously learned and stored in the memory. So he already stored in the memory, he was previously studied, but he is not able to remember that or recall that, then it is known as forgetting. So next we will see next important topic, that is thinking. So thinking is a higher mental process which involves verbal symbols, internal visual auditory images, internal visual and auditory images, ideas, concepts and mathematics symbols. So it's a highly mental process. We are thinking something about. Sometimes it will be symbols, internal visual or auditory images. Sometimes some ideas we are thinking, some concept we are thinking, some mathematical symbols. So thinking is a perceptual relationship which provides solution for the problem. So it's a perceptual. We have perceiving. We are thinking in our mind to find a problem, solution for a problem. So that is what called thinking. Now we will see types of thinking. So what are the main types of thinking? Let's discuss. So controlled thinking. So what is controlled thinking? There is control on thinking process. So this has a control on the thinking process. Thoughts remain in close touch with reality and directed towards achievement of a specific goal. Example, reasoning, problem solving and thinking. So here what happens? Thought remain with the reality. So reality, what is present in his life, it will be the thoughts of him is related to that present day life and directed towards achievement of a specific goal. Like example, reasoning, problem solving, thinking. Coming to free thinking. So second category of or types of thinking, that is free thinking. There is no control over thinking process. So there is no control. Whatever he want, he will think. No restriction on reality in time or space. Example, imagination and daydreaming. So they'll have imagination, dreams, daydreaming. That is coming under free thinking. So control thinking and free thinking are the types of thinking. Now let's discuss about another important topic that is coming in the unit number 4, that is attention. So what is attention? It's the process which focuses the mind on a stimulus of conscious. Defined by William James. So according to William James, it is the process, attention is the process which we are focusing on our mind to a stimulus. We are focusing our mind to a stimulus, then it is attention. Attention is the process of conscious concentrating on one stimulus while withdrawing from other stimulus. So we will concentrating on one particular stimulus, that is what called giving attention. So like attention in a class, we are giving the attention to the teacher. So that is what the process called attention. So coming to the nature of attention. So what are the nature of attention? It's selectively mental activity. So it's a person selectively mental activity. He will attend something means it's a selectively mental activity. Attention continuously shift from one object to another. So from one object to another we can continuously shift our attention. Attention process involve motor adjustment. So these are the nature of attention. Coming to the types of attention. So let's discuss. So it is first one is voluntary attention. This is intentional and controlled attention. We focus on something by choice, like listening carefully to a lecture or reading book. Here it is intentional and controlled. It is intentional by ourselves, like attending a class lecture. So that is what called voluntary attention. This is intentional or controlled attention. We focus on something by our choice. So we focusing on something by our choice, like listening carefully to a lecture or reading a book. Next one is involuntary attention. This type of attention is automatic and happens when without control. So it is automatic and it is without control, and it occurs when something suddenly grab our focus, like a loud noise or flashing light. Suddenly a loud noise is playing in your background. So suddenly you will turn to that side. Suddenly you will listen to that. So that is what called involuntary attention. Here it is not controlled and unintentionally you will listen to that. So that is the example. So involuntary attention is a type of attention that is automatic and happens without our control. It occurs when something suddenly grabs our focus, like a loud noise or a flashing light. Next is habitual attention. This is attention given to tasks that have become routine and automatic through habit. So it's a attention we are giving to routinely, we are doing every day. For example, paying attention while brushing teeth or walking on a familiar path without thinking much about it. So if you are walking in a familiar path, you know that path already. So familiar it is for you, without any thinking you will walk there, or brushing your teeth. So that habitual. So that is what called habitual attention. So these are the type of attention: voluntary, involuntary, and also habitual attention. So now we will discuss about another important topic that's coming under this chapter is perception. So what is perception? What is the definition of perception? Let's see. So perception is the process of interpretation of the experiences of a sensation. So it is the interpretation. So if you have a sensory stimulus, how you are interpreting, that is what called perception. So it's a process of interpretation of the experience of sensation by Rayburn. So perception is a process of obtaining knowledge of external objects and events by the means of sense. Through the senses, we are getting the information about an external object. That is what called perception. So this is the definition of perception. Now coming to errors in perception. So what are the main errors in perception? It is illusion and hallucination. So important. So what is illusion? An illusion is a misperception of a real object or stimulus. So it is, one stimulus is there, it's a real object, but what the patient or the person what will happen? Misinterpret or misperception will be there. So it's a illusion is a misperception of a real object or a stimulus. The object is actually present but we perceive it as incorrectly. For example, seeing a rope, a snake in dim light. So there is a rope in that room. In dim light, there is that. But that person, due to this error, what will be? He have illusions, like misperception. He will think that is not rope, that is snake. So that's the example. Misperception of the real object. Coming to hallucination, it's the false perception without any real external stimulus. So here, without any external stimulus, they have false perception, then it is hallucination. For example, hearing voice when no one is speaking or seeing things, they aren't there at all. So there is, if that person is seeing something, but it is not there, or hearing some voice, but nobody is talking to him, that is what called hallucination, false perception without any external stimuli. So this is errors in perception, illusion and hallucination. Yeah, so we have discussed about these things in the 4th chapter. So important things we have discussed. We are coming to the 5th chapter, that is personality. So let's discuss about the 5th chapter. So what is personality? It's the sum of activities that can be discovered by actual observation over a long enough period of time to give reliable information. So it can be defined as person's characteristics, pattern of behavior, thinking and feeling. So personality, each individual has different personality. It is unique for each individual. So it is defined as a person's characteristics. So how the person's characteristics, how the pattern of behavior and how his thinking and feeling. So that is what called personality. The sum of activities that can be discovered by actual observation over a long period of time to give reliable information. So that's the definition of personality. Now we will discuss about classification of personality. This is very important. It's a 2 marker or a 1 marker. You will get this question. So classification of personality. Jung's classification, Sheldon's classification, Kretschmer's classification and Alport's classification. So let's discuss one by one. First is Jung's classification. Extrovert and introvert. It's very common, right? This word is very famous and common. Extrovert person and introvert person. So what is an extrovert person? So extrovert is someone who is outgoing, social and enjoys being around people. So he or she will be enjoying the society, being around with the people. So talkative person. They feel energized by group activity, conversations and external interaction. So they are ready to mingle with all the people. They don't have any issues. They will talk to everyone, have conversation between everyone, and external interaction they will be interested. So that person is known as extrovert persons. Coming to introvert. An introvert is someone who is quiet, reserved and prefers spending time alone or with few close friends. So they are not ready to mingle to the whole people or society. They will be either with alone themselves or with some few of their close friends. They feel more comfortable in calm environments and recharge through solitude. So here we can see, so it's an introvert person, extrovert person. So it's the opposite. Introvert person will be very quiet and calm, and an extrovert person will be very energetic, outgoing, social and also interacting with more people. So this is Jung's classification of personality, extrovert and introvert. Next is Sheldon's classification. It is ectomorphic, mesomorphic and entomorphic. So let's discuss what it is. Ectomorphic. So ectomorphic person has slim, thin and lean body with little fat or muscle. How the body of that person will be? So he have ectomorphic person has slim, thin and lean body with little fat or muscle. So they can often have fat metabolism and may find it hard to gain weight or muscle. So they'll have fast metabolism and they may find hard to gain weight or muscle. So that kind of personality is known as ectomorphic. Coming to mesomorphic, mesomorphic person has muscular, well-built and athletic body. So they have a muscular, well-built and athletic body. Then they gain muscle easily and usually have a strong rectangular shaped physique. So that kind of person is known as mesomorphic personality. Coming to entomorphic, it's a person with rounder, softer body with higher fat levels. Rounder, softer body with higher fat level. They may gain weight easily and have slower metabolism but can build strength with effort. So this is the Sheldon's classification: ectomorphic, mesomorphic and entomorphic. I hope everyone understood. So coming to Kretschmer's classification, it is pycnic, ascending and athletic. Let's discuss one by one. What is pycnic? It's a pycnic person has short, round and soft body with tendency to gain weight easily. So they have a short, round and soft body, but they have the tendency to gain weight easily. They are often sociable and may be prone to mood disorders like bipolar disorder. So that kind of person is pycnic type. Now ascending type. So what is ascetic type? It is ascenic person has slim, tall and fragile looking body with narrow shoulder and chest. So they have a slim, tall, fragile looking body with narrow shoulders and chest. Also they are usually introverted, may be prone to conditions like schizophrenia. Next is athletic type. Athletic type person is a well-built, muscular and strong body with broad muscles and good posture. They are energetic, active and often emotionally balanced. So this is the Kretschmer's classification. Next, we will discuss about methods of assessment and evaluation of personality. So what are the methods we can use to evaluate a person's personality? So that is interview method, observation method, personality inventories and projective techniques. So 4 methods: interview method, observation method, personality inventories and also projective techniques. So next we will see another important topic, that is Rorschach's ink blot test. So what it is? It's Rorschach's ink blot test is a projective psychological developed by Hermann Rorschach. It consists of 10 ink blot cards. So it has 10 ink blots. Cards will be there, some black and white, some colored. And the person is asked to describe what they see in each ink blot. So as a person will be 10 given, so 10 what they are seeing, what they are observing, from that they need to speak. This test is used to analyze personality, emotion and also unconscious thoughts. The idea is that people project their inner feelings and thoughts onto ambiguous ink blot, which helps in the psychologist to understand their mental status. So to understand their mental status, so we are giving the ink blots. So what they are observing, they will speak. So from that we can able to diagnose their personality. So this is Rorschach ink blot test. Next is thematic appreciation test. What is thematic appreciation test? Apperception test. So what it is? It's a projective psychological test developed by Henry Murray. So it consists of a series of ambiguous picture. The person is asked to create a story about each picture. So we will give a picture, group of pictures, and the person is need to develop a story including what is happening, what led up to, and what might happen next. So this test is used to reveal a person's inner thoughts, feelings, motives, and personality traits, especially their unconscious conflicts. It commonly used in clinical settings to understand emotional functioning and interpersonal relationships. So this is thematic apperception test. Next, we will discuss about important thing in this chapter, that is character. So character can be defined as a value judgment of person's moral and ethical behavior. So a person's value, judgment, and more ethical behavior. So that is what called character. Will. So what is will? Will signifies the power of making decisions. So the power of making decision, determination, and persistence of increased effort in overcoming obstruction and difficulties. So that is the definition of will. Yes, so unit number 5 we have completed, that is personality. You need to study about personality, types of personality, and also about the personality assessment test. Yes, so next we will discuss about the last chapter, that is unit number 6, intelligence. So what is intelligence? It is the ability to understand complex idea, adapt effectively to the environment, and to learn from experiences, to engage in various forms of reasoning, and to overcome obstacles by taking thought. So it is nothing but an individual's ability to cope up with the situation, ability to understand a complex idea, to adapt effectively to his environment, to learn from experiences, to engage in various forms of reasoning, and to overcome obstacles by taking a thought. So if he is intelligent, if some obstacles or problem is there, he will think and he will try to solve the problem. So that is what called intelligence. So this is the definition of intelligence. Let's see the IQ ranges. So 150 or above means that person is genius or near genius person. 120 to 139, super intelligent. 110 to 119, it is higher average intelligence. 90 to 109, then it is average intelligence. 80 to 89, low average intelligence. 70 to 79, borderline intelligence. 50 to 69, mild intellectual disability. So that person will have mild intellectual disability. 35 to 49, moderate intellectual disability. 20 to 34, severe intellectual disability, and below 20, profound intellectual disability. So this is the intelligence classification. So IQ range and its classification. I hope everyone understood. Now we will see measurement of intelligence. How we can do the measurement? First is non-scientific approach. So first one is aस्थiometric approach. What is aस्थiometric approach? This approach focuses on sensitivities to several stimuli like touch, pain, or pressure. It was used to measure mental sharpness based on how well a person could detect small differences in stimuli. So the differences in stimuli will be managed in aस्थiometric approach. Now physiognomic approach. What it is? This approach studies personality by observing facial gestures and also facial features or expressions. It is based on the belief that person's face reflect their character or temperament. So we will say where you can see your face, you can see the character. So that is the physiognomic approach. Now next one is phrenological approach. What it is? Developed by Franz Gall. This approach is based on idea that the shape and bumps on person's skull reveal their mental traits and personality. So their shape and skull of that person's skull will be revealing their mental trait and personality. So although now discredited, it was widely used in the 19th century. So this is the non-scientific approach. Coming to the standardized test, first is verbal intelligence test, non-verbal intelligence test, individual intelligence test, and group intelligence test. This is the standard test. What is verbal intelligence test? This test uses language-based questions like vocabulary, comprehension, reasoning, and arithmetic. It checks how well a person can understand and use words suitable for literate individuals. So we will ask them questions verbally, and how the response will be, we will calculate. Next is non-verbal intelligence. This test uses pictures, patterns or symbols instead of words. It measures reasoning and problem solving skills and is ideal for people who cannot read and speak the language well, such as young children or illiterate individuals. So we are giving them pictures, patterns or symbol, and we will type to get their test. We will take the test. Next is individual intelligence test. So this test is given to one person at a time by a trained examiner. So a trained examiner will give to one person at one time. It allows a detailed observation often used in clinical or psychological assessment. Example, Stanford Binet test. Next is group intelligence test. This test is given to many people at once, usually in a classroom or a exam hall. It is useful for screening like large groups like students or job applicant and in less time consuming. So this is the standardized test, verbal intelligence test, non-verbal intelligence test, individual intelligence test and also group intelligence test. Next, we will discuss about another important topic that is coming and you need to study this, very important, that is Stanford Binet intelligence scale. So it is how we will calculate the IQ, mental age by chronological age into 100. So mental age of that person and physical age. What is physical age? The normal age of a person into 100. So this is the equation where we can calculate the IQ. So it is Stanford Binet intelligence scale. Yes. So we have completed our psychology section. So we have discussed all the chapters. So this time we will discuss about the chapter number 4, 5 and 6. So the important topics that is coming from this 4, 5 and 6. I hope everyone understood. So follow EasyNurse for more live classes. We will come in the next section with another subject and another important chapters. So till that we will meet. So stay back to EasyNurse where nursing education made easy. We will meet in the next section. Bye. Thank you.